Hi, Drew Scholars. Miss Shannon here from the school library. I wanted to tell you about my favorite books in San Francisco Public Library summer program, Summer Stride 2016. The first one I want to tell you about is Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste, but be warned, only read this if you like really scary stories. So what are Jumbies? Well, they're little creatures from the Caribbean, and they're mean, trick-playing. They come out at night from the forest, and they do terrible things. There are the Duenn, who look like little tiny men with their feet on backwards. And they have voices just like your mom and dad. And from inside the forest, they say, come here, we need you. And if they catch you, you turn into one of them, and you can never go home again. And then there are the La Diablesse. They look like women in big white hats that hide their awful faces, and long white dresses that hide the fact that they have one human leg and one stinky hairy cow leg. They lure weak-willed men into the forest, and the men are never seen again. And then there are the Sukoyans, which are little old ladies. They look really nice. They're kind of polite until they take their skin off and start flying around, sucking people's blood. They look like flaming nighttime mosquitoes. Trust me, you do not want to meet up with any of these creatures when you're alone in the forest. Well, this story is about Corinne Lemaire. She lives on Trinidad in the Caribbean. She lives alone with her dad in the memory of her mom in a little cabin with a huge garden next to the Forbidden Forest. She loves growing all the food she and her dad eat, except for the fish she catches. And all the extra food she grows, she goes and sells in the marketplace. She's so brave, she just goes right in and sells it. She doesn't let any of the grown-ups boss her around or steal a good shopping place. She makes friends. She's not afraid of the witch. There are these two naughty brothers that play tricks on animals. She just goes and saves the animals. She has a great life. And then along comes Severine, a beautiful, mysterious woman who comes to the market one day and talks to the witch. But Corinne doesn't think anything of it. Then she goes home that night, and Severine is at her house, charming her daddy. Oh, Corinne doesn't like it, but she doesn't really think anything of it. Then she comes home one day and finds that Severine has slipped her dad a potion and is trying to put a spell on him. And even though it's daylight, she begins to suspect that Severine might be something other than human. Then she begins to suspect that Severine might not be happy with just charming her dad and taking him away from her. Can Corinne find a way to outwit Severine and save her dad? Maybe have to save her whole island? Read Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste to find out. The next one I want to tell you about is a biography, but a really unusual one. It's called Josephine by Patricia Ruby Powell, and it's written in poetic verse with amazing illustrations and beautiful typesetting to make the words leap off the page. This isn't just a book to read, it's a book to look at, too. So Josephine was born very, very poor in a really dangerous neighborhood in St. Louis, Missouri, where white people would come in and just beat people up for no reason. Well, Josephine took all of that fear and that anger and burned it into her dance, and she shone. By the time she was 13, she was traveling with a performing group all over the South. She made her way to New York City, which at that time was the entertainment capital of the United States. She didn't get a job right away as a dancer. She got a job as a dresser, helping the dancers get ready at a really, really famous nightclub. And in secret, she learned all the dance moves. So one day, when a dancer had to call in sick, she got to perform. And she stole the show. People loved her. They loved her dancing and her comedy. She was amazing. Soon she was a headline dancer and famous. So famous that someone from France heard about her. Now, France was the international entertainment capital of the world. She was invited to go and perform there, and she wowed everybody. Eventually, she became a headline performer in Paris, France, and became the first international black superstar. Well, some of the clubs in New York heard about how famous she was, and they wanted her to come back and perform again. So she did. And she found that New York was still as segregated and as racist as ever. And she took all of the pain of that realization, and she gave what are still considered the best performances of her life. And then she packed up and went back to France, because that was her home. Well, right about then, World War II was about to break out, and Germany was about to invade France, and it was incredibly dangerous. And she decided that she would help free France. She became a spy for the resistance, and they won. They freed France, and she ended up getting the Legion d'Honneur, which is the highest award a civilian can get during wartime. After that, she adopted 12 children from all over the world. She raised them all in their own religion and traditions to prove to the world that we all can live together as brothers. And incidentally became one of the very first civil rights activists. If you want to find out more about Josephine, the first international black superstar, civil rights activist, and wartime spy, read Josephine by Patricia Ruby Powell. The next one I want to tell you about is Crenshaw by Katherine Applegate, one of my favorite authors. This is a story about Jackson. He's a 5th grader, and times are pretty tough. His dad's really sick. The family is selling the furniture to try and make rent. His parents keep acting like nothing's wrong, which just makes everything harder. He's worried they're going to end up living in their minivan again. He and his sister have been hungry for a while. And then on top of everything else, his invisible friend shows up again. Now, Jackson's family is often worried about him because he doesn't have an imagination. Except for those 2 days in preschool when he was the mayor of Earth, he's very serious, maybe too grown up. His dad thinks maybe he should have read him more fairy tales, and his mom thinks maybe she shouldn't have let him watch so many nature documentaries, where the animals all eat each other. So, having an imaginary friend is something he can't really explain to his family or talk about with them. And it was one thing when Crenshaw showed up the first time, when he was in 1st grade, and they were living in their minivan, and he had to quit school, and he was really hungry all the time. It was really comforting to have a big cat live on the roof of the minivan and have his tail kind of swish around in the windows. Well, it's something else when you're in 5th grade, and now Crenshaw is 7 feet tall, and won't leave, and insists Jackson needs him. But then Crenshaw also makes messes, and butts into conversations, and distracts his dog. Jackson's worried that his family will think he's losing his mind. He's worried his friends will think he's losing his mind. To find out what happens to Jackson and his family and Crenshaw, read Crenshaw by Katherine Applegate. The next one is Secret Coders by Jean Lewin Yang. It's about a girl named Hopper. She starts at a new school, Stately Academy, which looks like a haunted house, and it has the number 9 drawn everywhere, and these weird, creepy birds with 4 eyes, and mean kids, and really humorless teachers, and a truly terrifying janitor who yells at her all the time. Well, she finally makes one friend, Annie, mostly by not getting beaten up by him, and he teaches her binary code, and with that they can start to solve some of the mysteries of Stately Academy. Can they solve all the mysteries of these weird birds and locked doors and secret passageways and stolen robots before they get attacked by the birds, yelled at by everybody, kids and teachers alike, and kicked out of school? If you like graphic novels, logic puzzles, or mysteries, Secret Coders is a great book for you by Jean Lewin Yang. And last up, I want to tell you about The One and Only Ivan. It's not on the summer reading list, but it's one of my favorite books, also by Katherine Applegate. It tells a true story of Ivan, the shopping mall gorilla, but this is a fiction book, told from his perspective. It starts out, he's living in a shopping mall, and he says, "My name hasn't always been Ivan, and I haven't always lived in this cage. I was born in a beautiful rainforest to a big troop. I had a twin sister named Tad. But then we were taken and shipped to the United States and sold to a shopping mall owner. My sister couldn't stop thinking about our family and about our rainforest, and she died. So I made myself stop thinking about it. For a while I lived in the mall owner's house, and we drove around in his convertible, and we ate ice cream cones, and we had all kinds of fun. But then I was moved to this cage by myself. I don't know why, but I try not to think about it. And, I have a tire swing, and I have a TV that sometimes people turn on, and I like to watch westerns, and I have a kiddie pool full of dirty water, and people come by and they look in my cage, and they make fun of me, and they laugh at me, and I don't know why, but I try not to think about it. I'm not even sure if I really count as a gorilla, because I don't have any other gorillas around to teach me how to be a gorilla. In fact, I don't even know if any other gorillas even exist. And I don't think I count as a silverback because I don't have anyone to protect like a big male silverback gorilla is supposed to. So I try not to think about it. I do have friends. There's Stella, the big old elephant who's retired from the circus. She gives performances 3 times a day, 365 days a year here at the mall. And then there's Bob, who's a little dog that's a stray that kind of lives around the mall, lives to come sleep on my stomach. He's okay company. And then there's Julia, the daughter of the nighttime janitor. She brings me paper and crayons and paints so I can make artwork that Matt can sell at the gift shop. I even sometimes put my thumbprint on it to sign them. And it doubles as snacks, so how lucky is that? But then a new baby elephant comes to the mall. And old Stella gets sick. And she makes me promise that I'll protect Ruby, and I'll take care of her, and give her a better life than we've had. And now, I gotta think of something. If you want to find out what happens at the end of this fictional story of Ivan, and you want to find out what happens to the real Ivan, read The One and Only Ivan by Catherine Applegate. Thanks for listening. Have a great summer.